I'm Thorin, also known as the Esports Historian, and I am here exclusively for Esportsbet to give you my outright odds winner of the League of Legends Season 13 World Championship. So if you've never seen one of these outright odds videos before, we're not going on just like who's going to do well, who's going to make the semis, who's going to make the final, who can get out of groups, Swiss system now, who's going to make it from the play-in. That's included in it, but we're going to do the overall winner, just who is going to be the winner, and then we're going to look at the odds of all the teams in the mix and see who we should bet on at this point in time. So as always, the way that you get to the outright odds page, by the way, obviously we're on Esportsbet, so if you don't know, they have a first-time deposit bonus of 50% up to 100 USDT. And if aside from that you've already deposited, check out their Deposit Quest Elite series for ways to get more from your deposits. So what you do is to find the outright odds, I'm just going to pick my currency, USDT here. Then if you remember, you don't go on the game hall for League of Legends. That's where you do individual match bets. What you do is you go all the way to the bottom. It'll say outright. You're going to go there and you'll see there's 3 of them for Worlds here. There's the people who are going to get through the play into the main event. We'll look at all these, don't worry. Then there's the actual champion overall, which is the main reason I'm doing the video. And then, interestingly, there's the region of the champion. So if you just want to pick like LPL or LCK wins, you can just do that, which obviously in theory increases your chances of winning, right? But obviously the odds are going to reflect that. So I think we'll do them all this time around, actually. So we'll start with the main one, which is who's going to win Worlds. That's the most important question of all, as far as I'm concerned. So what we'll do is, we go on here. And you'll see on the right-hand side, this is just the odds for each team to win Worlds. So at the very top, we have JD Gaming, obviously number 1 seed from the LPL. Then we have Gen G, number 1 seed from the LCK. And then, as you can imagine, it goes down. So let's talk for real. Who's going to win Worlds, right? I actually do think this is a Worlds which has one of the most obvious winners ever in the history of League of Legends. And I say that with that being no small matter. Like, you can go back in history and look. Was it certain that SKT would win in Season 3? Not necessarily. There was a world where maybe they wouldn't. They were the favourite, but they weren't like a lock in the same way. They'd only just won the summer finals and then gone through the regional. So yeah, they were epic in Korea, but we didn't know they'd match against the Chinese. You think of some of the past years. Some people thought Damwon was odds on to win in 2021. Like they're gonna crown themselves the best ever, right? Khan was going to retire a world champion. Didn't happen. EDG won. You think about when G2 came, they had a chance to do the Grand Slam. Didn't happen for them. FPX shocked them. Obviously, RNG had a chance for the Grand Slam. They got defeated by Invictus Gaming in the quarterfinals of that one. They didn't even make the final. So this time around, JDG is might be the biggest favourite ever for Worlds, in my opinion, because you look at this team, they are on for the Grand Slam and they have not lost a playoff series the entire year, and all 3 tournaments they won were double elimination. So they played in the LPL Spring Split and won every best of 5. They played at MSI and won every best of 5. And then they played LPL Summer and they won every best of 5. They have not taken a single loss. I think there's only even like something mad, like 1 or I think there's maybe 2 times, 3 max that they've even gone to 5 games in a best of 5. It's crazy how dominant this team's been. Then you look at the style of play they have, like, if Ruler's the best ADC in the world, then Knight's at worst top 2 mid laner or top 3 or 4 player in the world himself. Then you have like, people think 369's the best top laner. Kanavi's contender for best jungler, certainly a very good player, even if, I mean, he's maybe not the same prodigy he was years ago, but he's an excellent player now. Obviously, you go and look, the bot lane in general is just fire. Like, there's nothing to dislike, and they're so good at team fighting from behind that there's a reason this team is not only unbeatable in best of 5, but they feel unbeatable. Like, I get the sense this is like playing against an even more skilled version of SKT 2015, where it's like you always know if you're a few K ahead or a bit ahead in the game, you're not really ahead. Like, they can fight from behind. They can find ways back in the game. This might be the best team fighting team, specifically from behind, ever in League of Legends. And let's be real, team fighting mid to late game is the way you win League of Legends in history. So I think they are an enormous favourite to win. And as a result, result, I think these odds are incredibly miserly because I think there's a really good chance they're going to win. Like normally, by the way, it's incredibly rare to ever even get odds below 2 at a tournament like this where you've got like the best Korean team, the other best Chinese teams. So I think there's a very good chance JDG wins, but as a result, the odds aren't great for them. So instead, I would look at like Gen G already because of what a favourite JDG is. Gen G is, for me, the clear second. Them and LNG are the clear second best teams out there who can truly contend with JDG. Like maybe Gen G actually can play the map against them and get enough of a lead. And they have people like Chovy who can farm out and Piers is mega. Thorin might be able to hold up. You look at LNG, they already gave JDG some of that work. That Zika approach to smashing through top lane was already pretty impressive. You look at people like Scout and Tarzan, they're as good as anyone in the world at their position. So yeah, why can't these teams win? Like I think actually the idea you can get either of these two, these are the value in my opinion. I think the value on these two is crazy. Like LNG 4.545 and Gen G 4.166. I think those are both excellent picks. Those are top 3 teams to win, and one of them is 4.5 odds. So I love that. If you're feeling either of those two teams, I think those would be my choices. Then you go to T1. Look, I actually don't think T1 can win Worlds. Like, I think in a perfect world where everything went right, they could. But there's a reason, even at their best, they lost a lot of finals. And quite frankly, they haven't looked at their best recently. And I think a lot of them beating KT was KT beating themselves mentally and playing quite cowardly. So I actually think T1, look, the odds look crazy. 9 odds to win Worlds. They're not going to win Worlds. I'll say it right now. So I actually think this is a trap. I think this is a trap for all the little pleb fanboys of Faker. This ain't his time. This ain't his Worlds to win, I'm afraid. He might have fluked the last one if he'd gotten the win over DRX, but it didn't happen. So I think Faker's chance to win Worlds, on the back of his play, it's gone. So then we go down. Now this is excellent odds. Because remember, right until LNG beat them in the LPL summer, people were actually trying to argue the second best team in the world. You could even debate, if not head to head, the best team in the world was supposed to be Billy Gaming, the second team from MSI, the team that was actually number 1 in the regular season of the LPL this summer. So how are they all the way down at 10 odds? Because they have taken losses. Because at the moment, they can't directly beat JDG. Now, here's the thing. If someone else beats JDG, it's a single element tournament. They don't have to. If LNG beats JDG, can BLG beat LNG? Yes. What about if Gen G beats GDG? Can BLG beat Gen G? Well, not only have they already done it MSI, but even the improved Gen G. Look, in theory, I think they should be better than BLG, but I think it's pretty much a coin flip match, and clearly BLG are not intimidated. So I think these are excellent odds. 10 to 1 for BLG. In fact, just to show you, I'm going to put a little cheeky one on there. I'll put a little cheeky 100 just for the lols, eh? After that, you go down to KT roster. This is also excellent odds. Now, the downside you're going to have is this. Some of the people on BLG, not only are they absolute best in the world, but they're like winners and they've done it in the playoffs. KT roster, there's your problem, which is BDD was mega when he was at Worlds in 2021, but people aren't used to him being a guy who closes it out in the big matches, especially not internationally, so people are going to be questionable. Kane barely has any international experience, and obviously we don't talk about Season 8, do we? Might be the best top player in the world. Sadly, something went wrong in those playoffs. Lehens was the MVP of the LCK. You can vote for the team like the LPL LCK MVP to win Worlds at 11.235 odds. The problem is this. KT is a very capable team of winning. As in, if mentality wasn't an issue, I think they're a way more likely team than T1 to win. I think they might even be more likely than LNG, in my opinion. But I understand why people have sort of bailed on them, because they have been mentally fragile in the most important moments. At the very beginning of the split against Gen G with that nonsense with the wrong buy. Then you had the outrageous matches against T1 in the playoffs. I don't know what was going on in KT's heads there. And they even lost the ones in spring, like the 5-game series against SKT, T1 rather. So as a result, like, the problem is the mental fragility. But if you want a cheeky outside bet, I think this is actually the other one. I'm going to do both of them. I'll do 100 on this one too, because these two are just such ridiculous odds. I'm going to do 2 cheeky ones, because I actually do believe these are top 5 teams in terms of being able to win Worlds. But look, in terms of where they are here, BLG's 5th and KT's 6th. Then you come down, Dam 1 is 12.5. Now here's the thing. They do have the players to win Worlds. Like Canyon, Showmaker and Deft, if they hit the right stride and the meta supports them and their playing style works, they can win Worlds. They are skilled enough. The problem is, Damwon haven't won even on some of the other years where their team was better. Like, they were not at all mixing it up in the LCK this year. They were actually very underwhelming. Even though, again, individually, some of their players are still good. So normally I would say great dark horse pick, maybe they can come up. But everyone's said that about Damwon for too long now. I actually don't think they can win. I would stay away. I think that's a trap at 12.5. I'd want them at like 18 or something. Then you go down, Weibo Gaming, in this sense, by the way, sort of the Chinese version of Damwon, right? Because you look at players like they don't have Carter anymore, who's a legend. But they obviously have Zhao Hu, multiple-time MSI winner, amazing player from 2 different positions, playing mid lane again, 6-shot caller too. Then you go and look top lane, they have the Shy, insane ceiling, still can sometimes hit it, but also ints like a Murpho all the time. This is like a really strong team still. The problem is, hence why I contrast them with Damwon, individually is where a lot of their strength comes from, and they rely on people essentially out mechanicking people or just going crazy in the game. So I don't believe in them as a long-term team. The idea they'll win 3 best of 5s and beat like potentially some of these teams above them and win well, I don't think so. So actually I think their odds are a bit of a trap there too. Even if you're the biggest The Shy fan of all time, shout out Catrell. Then you go down, look at the jump in the odds, guys, from 12.5 to 66.66 for G2. But here's what's crazy. I think that's a better bet than Weibo, Damwon, T1, and here's why. Because first of all, the odds are fucking mental. Like 66.666 odds to win Worlds. Like, look, yes, they're obviously a dark horse. But actually, is it even fair to have them below Weibo and below Damwon and maybe even below KT? Like, realistically, look, in terms of like player strength, a bunch of those teams might be better. But if I'm actually looking at the overall style of how they played, understanding of what to do in draft, how they actually like synergize together, availability of playing styles, I think G2 is way higher than that. Wouldn't G2 be something like 6th or 7th team most likely to win? Remember, we're not talking about just do well. Other teams might have a better chance of doing well. In terms of win the tournament, though, G2, at least of the non-Asian teams, has a chance. Has a tiny chance to do it, right? So you know what? Screw it. Just for the lols for this one, we'll just do a little 25. Just because if it came in, it'll be hilarious if we can go back to this video in it. After G2, I'll be honest with you, I don't believe in anyone, so the odds better get mental. Luckily, they do. Cloud9 at 125 to 0.000 to win. Here's the thing. Those are the right odds. I mean, those odds are bonkers, aren't they? And there is a world, look, I don't believe Blabber can do it at Worlds, but in terms of his raw skills, if you took the nameplate off, his skills are there. Berserker, again, I don't know internationally if he can be good enough, but you take the nameplate off, would look amazing again. Those 2 players, there's an outside chance, like, if DRX can win Worlds, they can win Worlds. The problem is the other players. Like, can Fudge win Worlds? Can MNS? Can he? Fuck. It's not going to happen, is it? So, that one, if you're just a big NA fan, look, you only have to put like $10, obviously. I think that one's actually pretty cool in terms of like a crazy outside bet just for a sweat for fun. But there's a reason it's that high. They're not going to win. And forget about the others. I don't think Fnatic can win. Never mind these odds. Mad Lions, just too up and down. They would never win the 3 in a row. Maybe they could win a best of 5 series, but they're not going to win 3 in a row. NRG, I mean, it's a miracle they won NA. Look how much of a struggle it was. Team Liquid, look, in a world where the meta somehow revolved massively around top lane or solo lanes, they'd actually be more of a dark horse than some of the teams above them, in my opinion. Like, I do think actually Summit, when he's on his game, he is sort of I used to play with him, the berserker of top lane. He's mega in NA, and I actually think he can match up internationally with the top team. So I actually think Team Liquid has a very, very, very slight outside chance that people don't give them, because Summit, Core JJ, these are players that have historical class, in my opinion, have been some of the best in the world at their position. I don't really believe like APA is going to win Worlds. And the idea PureShik's even going to get close again is a bit silly. But again, to be fair, PureShik is a reigning world champion. So the more you look at it, look, those odds are bonkers. 333.33. Again, these are really, really out there. But actually, it's not like that's impossible, even though the odds are that crazy. I'm just not a PCS fan the last few years. They've never shown me a style that worked. VCS hasn't even been relevant. After that, no one's worth it. These are all ridiculous. At least that could be $1 million, and there's no point betting on any of these ones, in my opinion. So if you go and look, a crazy outsider is Team Liquid. Then you go, I think just because it's only 125, I probably wouldn't do Cloud9. I don't hate the G2 one if you have to bet on a Western team or you're a G2 fan. Those odds are bonkers, and at least you've got the outside chance. After that, I'm steering clear of these two, Weibo and Damwon. I think they're traps. KT, I think, is very well priced. I like that. I love the pricing of Billy Billy. I think that is excellent for a team that really does have a chance to win. T1's a trap. LNG I like. Gen G I like. JDG I love because I think they're going to win, but I think the odds are way too low. Like, I don't think those odds make that much sense. I think it's too much of a risk. In general, I'd stay clear. I'd go for your favourites here. Then if not, you go big time on these dark horses. And then if you really just like a sweat or you just want a crazy set of odds, go with things like G2 and Cloud9. And then if you're really outrageous, Team Liquid, the idea they'll win. By the way, also, as well as their first-time deposit bonus, did you know that you can get cash back when you play on Esportsbet? Check out the website for more details. Also, they have their ESC, their esports coin, which replaces DJT. And there's a bunch of ways you can get it for free. So if you don't have any crypto to play with, this is a way to get some tokens to play with, which can also be exchanged for USDT. So if you go to their Discord, discord.gg/esportsbet, you can get 10,000 ESC. If you sign up to their Twitter, at esportsbet on X/Twitter, that's 5,000 ESC. If you subscribe to their YouTube channel, you can get 5,000 ESC. If you subscribe to their Instagram, esportsbet.io, that's 5,000 ESC too. And if you want to write a review for Trustpilot, that's actually worth 40,000 ESC. For any or all of these promotions, contact customer support on the website and tell them which ones you did, or the mod mill on Discord, and they will credit your account accordingly. And you can get making bets and predictions. So there you go. That's who I think is going to win Worlds. Now, there's still more though, because I'm going to show you a couple of others, aren't I? So if you remember, on the outright, I'm just going to do the other two that we had there. So we had the region of the World's winner. Now, there's not many here, and here's the problem. Obviously, this is very well priced, by the way. The LPL are the odds-on favourite to win as a region. Now, after that, here's my problem. I think LCK isn't high enough odds. Now, I get it. It's because, and this is the problem, the biggest favourite, like I've pointed out, in my opinion, is JDG. So obviously, LPL becomes the main favourite to win. Okay? I don't hate the odds. They're just not awesome. You're not going to get a big multiplier. But after JDG, I don't actually know that BLG and LNG are like second and third. Like, I think Gen G should be second. I think they actually deserve it. I think if you look at the overall style of play and the poise that they've shown, they have earned that status. I even think there's a world where, look, I don't think mentally they're going to get together, but I think KT can even mix up with LNG and BLG. So as a result, I get why LCK is second, because if JDD doesn't win, then very likely I think Gen G is probably going to win Worlds. So as a result, LCK only 1.886 odds. I actually do think, by the way, if you look at the teams there, I think the LPL, because of JDG, has the best chance to win, but I think the LCK has the best chance of having like 3 teams in the semis, for example, or all 4 teams go to quarters. So as a result, pretty safe to pick the LCK, actually, even though the odds are a bit higher. LEC is ridiculous. They're basically the odds of G2. LCS is basically like picking Team Liquid to win. Others, I can't even comprehend who would even pick that. But I guess if you're a super fan of VC or something, you just want to put like 10 USDT and have a little flyer and go, lol, I get 1,000 times just if I win. Yeah, you can do that. So in my opinion, you're only picking between LPL and LCK. And here's the thing. I actually think this is where they've done an awesome job with the pricing. Because if they went any higher, if they'd gone 2 or above, I would have picked LCK as the region, actually. I think as a region, they have an excellent chance. But I'm going to be boring and say I think JDG is going to win Worlds. I'll put 100 on them at 1.408 as the odds. Right, one last thing to do, which is let's just do the play-in, shall we? So this is just who's going to qualify from the play-in to the main event. So what's funny is, even though one of these 2 teams won't be playing in the play-in, Golden Guardians or BDS, whoever wins that match automatically becomes the favourite, which I have to say is probably true. Because the issue is, Loud in theory should be decent, right? But Brazil just never, for some reason, performs at Worlds. PSG Talent, PCS historically, obviously, when back in the old days of LMS, essentially they won Worlds, right? They've had a bunch of very good teams. The issue is, that golden generation of players has gone. I mean, half of them played for TSM at this point in time. And they just have been a very underwhelming region who just hasn't sort of caught onto the meta the last few years. So I'm skipping them. They're a bit dodgy. Although I do think certainly they're in with a shout. GAM, look how crazy the odds go after these first 2, by the way. According to this, they're incredibly high odds that Golden Guardians, BDS, or PSG Talent make it. Now, look, I would pick one of these 2 teams to make it. I think your chances are really good. But look how low the odds are. So what we really want here is some dark horses, right? GAM as a dark horse. The problem is, who knows how good VCS is now? Hasn't it been a million years? Then you go down, Flying Oyster, 14.28. Like, GAM's not a bad, crazy dark horse one because of the odds being so high. Maybe there's a world they can do it. Remember, there's going to be best of fives involved as well, unless you just win the group outright. So the problem becomes, like, there's not, like, Detonation Focus me is a crazy dark horse, by the way. There's a world, it's just, can they really, like, win the group or win the best of five? Again, the loud one I don't even hate. I think it's not about, I'd stay away from Movistar R7. I would skip that completely. I probably wouldn't go with Detonation Focus me. I think what I would do is I would either go with, just bet this, but obviously do a small bet if you do because the odds aren't big. But I think there's a good chance that team makes it if you look how they qualify. I personally am not that big a fan of the PSG Talon one. I could even say they're messing this up. But maybe if you want to do that, I'd like the odds to be like maybe 1.8 for that. I think GAM is your obvious dark horse if you want to do it. I just don't know enough about Flying Oyster to be able to pick them. And obviously I wasn't that impressed last Worlds overall. So yeah, there we go. There's all the different ones you can do. Let's see who wins Worlds. Hopefully not a DRX team. Hopefully it's one of the best teams this time.